Hi, I'm Ben Macklow, and welcome back to Collecting at Home, a video series that we've introduced to help you get a level of scholarship that you might not otherwise have about things that we think are really special. And since people haven't been able to come into the gallery as much, we thought it would be nice to bring the gallery to you. So today, we're going to talk about Louis Comfort Tiffany and his global influences. Now, it's hard to realize this now because we live in the age of internet and travel and airplanes, but when he was born in the 1840s, it was very hard to get around. So when we look at the objects that we're going to talk about today, try to get yourself in the mind of a world of before air travel. And in fact, many of Tiffany's most beautiful pieces, like this extraordinary copper and enamel box, were inspired by cultures that he longed to visit, but knew that he would never actually see during his lifetime. The influence here is India, and if you look carefully, you'll see that this is a box made of copper wire and blue enamel in order to mimic henna, also known as mendi. And if you don't know, henna is used for brides on their wedding day. It's a cooling, de-stressing agent, but it also is emblematic of the love that a family has for the incoming bride. The longer the henna lasts, supposedly, the longer the family love will be. And so to show this, Tiffany actually used raised copper wires to make it seem like the henna would stay forever. And I just love the idea of this because Tiffany had great love for things Indian, and this box, which is the only one that we've ever seen of its design, is truly a rare collectible. So let's continue on our global tour of Louis Comfort Tiffany, and let's stop at the 9th century Moorish palace of La Alhambra in Granada, Spain. This chandelier that you see here shows how you cannot understate the influence of Islamic architecture on Tiffany, not only in chandeliers such as this, but actually in Tiffany's private home, Laurelton Hall, where he created what is known as the fountain court, and he called it the soul of the house, based almost solely on the architecture that he saw at La Alhambra. There is something in Egyptian architecture called muqarna, and the muqarna is a specific shape that Tiffany actually used in these shades. And when you see that there are 6 of them that match perfectly with a corresponding central stalactite, you can imagine that this is sort of a miracle that it's lasted 120 years. And so I'm very excited to see this and to share it with you. Tiffany had a particular attraction to the culture of ancient Egypt, as shown in this extraordinary and very large vase in what is known as the Tel El Amarna style. Now, the ancient city of Akhetaten, that's quite a mouthful, which was discovered by archaeologists in the 19th century, unearthed the city of Tel El Amarna, where they had created this extraordinary cobalt blue glaze for ceramic. And Tiffany loved it so much, he set his glass workers to the task of recreating it in iridescent glass. And here they do it to a level of perfection that we have not seen in our 50 years, both for size as well as color. The body of it is this blue, and the collar here, which is decorated separately and then adhered in place while the vase is hot, is what people have traditionally called a Tel El Amarna design, and there are many of them. But the truth of it is that according to scholar Paul Doros, it's actually only the color Tel El Amarna that Tiffany wanted this to be referred to as, and actually this was called a Byzantine collar. And so it's a little bit different, but that's what makes this so special. And as I said, the size of this really recalls many of the great potteries that Tiffany saw on his travels through Byzantium, as well as towards the end of his life, his travels through ancient Egypt. Another one of Tiffany's favorite places to visit was a place that actually existed during Byzantium, and that was actually Sicily. And most importantly, Mount Etna, the site of extraordinary volcanic activity that inspired this vase called the lava vase. Now, Tiffany, in his travels, sketched from Mount Etna and was just excited by the flow of lava over basaltic rock, and particularly sort of the ruins, if you will, of the volcanic explosions. But this vase isn't just influenced by that. It is also influenced by Tiffany's love of raku pottery from Japan. And the pockmarked surface that you see here very much was inspired by and mimics not just the flow of lava over basaltic rock, but also this technique where they would take very, very hot ceramic vessels out of the kiln and then let them cool in the air rather than bring them down to temperature. And so it would do all these unusual things to the surface. And the 19th century French potters took the raku technique one step further, where they actually would be rubbing burnt ash into the pieces. And so that's sort of this trip, if you will, from Byzantium through Mount Etna in Sicily to Japan, and also to 19th century French studio pottery, all in this extraordinary vase that is considered one of Tiffany's great achievements, the lava vase. So we discussed the influence on Tiffany of Japanese raku pottery when we looked at the lava vase. But Tiffany's love of things Japanese went much deeper than that, and you can really see it in this lamp called the lotus. The lotus blossom was evergreen for Tiffany. He had lotus in his floating gardens at Laurelton Hall. He collected Japanese samurai armor, tsuba, mon, sword guards, hanging scrolls. He just loved the culture of Japan, but he never got to visit it, which is sad. But at the same time, when you look at a lamp like this, you can realize that he distilled it to its very essence in his uniquely brilliant way. The lotus itself and this lamp is really a study in simplicity. It's geometry, and most importantly, it's this incredible dynamism of this subtle color and the very, very strong lines created by the leading. And unlike most of Tiffany's flowered lamps, there is a certain symmetry to this lamp, which you don't see in others, because Tiffany loved the idea of the English garden for his tulips, etc. But here he really picks up on this idea of extreme simplicity and symmetry and does it to a level that can only be considered perfection. And in our 50 years specializing in Tiffany lamps, we've never had a lotus bell lamp that was orange. They're usually green. But in this case, Tiffany threw verisimilitude to the wind, and we are all the richer for it. The piece that to me is most emblematic of Tiffany's global influences is this extraordinary mosaic box. It's a little treasure. And if you look at the top, you'll see that it has 3 iridescent glass scarab beetles pushing a ball of dung, which refers to the ancient Egyptian religious rite that involved reincarnation. So here we have him traveling in Egypt. Here we have glass mosaic, which recalls obviously the great mosaics of ancient Rome. But what a lot of people don't realize when they look at this is the patterning that you see here shows Tiffany's love of Native American basketry, particularly those of Southwest Americans. And only Tiffany could be what I call the aesthetic omnivore, to effortlessly pair 2 ancient cultures with one that was quite active at the time of his life and still is active today, to create something that was quintessentially American. And the more that we travel, obviously, we hope to then have it enrich our current lives. And I think that's what Tiffany did best. And these are just a small selection of the kind of special pieces that we have at Macklowe Gallery. So when you have the chance, maybe we could take you on a global tour from here in our beautiful gallery at 445 Park Avenue. There's so many items to see, and this is the time to come and see them. So give me a call, send me a text, smoke signals, whatever you want. But I miss you, and I'd love to share with you again. Thanks a lot, and stay tuned. Bye now.